Hello, welcome to Unicrack. Today's video will be looking at a very simple non-parametric test, which is the paired sample sign test. Now, in this test, we have a question we'll be looking at. And the question says that we are interested in the behavior of rats with the intention of making comparison between males and females. That means male rats and female rats. Supposing we base the experiment on the activities of such rats, ranking them from highest to lowest on a scale between 1 to 5, which 1 meaning highest activity and 5, meaning lowest activity. Now we have this question and we are supposed to use the paired sample sign test to solve this. Now for this, we have the first rat, the second rat, the third rat, the fourth rat, the fifth rat, sixth rat, and up to we have 13 rats now, which is our samples. So we have 13 rats as our sample. Now, having 13 rats as our sample, what we'll do next is to first of all, any statistical test you are performing is to state the null hypothesis. Now, for sign test null hypothesis basically is saying that there is no, let's start with that. So for sign tests, the null hypothesis states that there is no difference in the median of the population, or there is no difference of the median of the population. So what this is basically saying is that the positive signs and the negative signs are equal. We'll get to know about that as we go along in this video. So the null hypothesis says that there is no difference now between the activity of the male rat and the female rat. Now for this test, this null hypothesis is the general null hypothesis for sign tests. But for this question, the null hypothesis now for this question is that there is no difference there is no median. Sorry, I didn't write median here. So there is no median. There is no difference in the activity, or there is no median difference in the activity of female and male rats. So, having the null hypothesis, we have our alternative hypothesis, which is going to be the opposite, that there is difference, or there is a difference. There is a median difference. There's a median difference in the activities of between, let's write between here. So between female and male rats. Female and male rats. So since we have this, we can now move to the next step. Now for sign tests basically is from the null hypothesis. You see that sign test is basically discussing about the median of a population, the median difference of a population. Now for these tests, what we'll basically do is this. For sign tests, the value is not of importance to us. The sign is only of importance, and that's why it is a paired sample sign test, because we are dealing with two samples or two independent samples now in this case. So since we are dealing with two samples, the value is not of interest to us, only the sign. So what do we mean by this? What we mean is this is you would either take the difference between these two. So for the first rat, for the female, we have 4, and for the male, we have 2. So you start 4 minus 2. 4 minus 2 will give us what? A positive sign, which is a positive 2. So we write it as positive. Move to the next one. 4 minus 3 would give us what? A positive 1. So we just simply write positive. That's all. The same thing, 5 minus 3, positive, which is a positive 2. So positive. 5 minus 3, again, we have a positive sign here. We have done for this 1, 2, 3. So this is the fourth one. 3 minus 3 will give me what is 0. So simply write out 0. 2 minus 3 would give me a negative 1. So we write a negative. 5 minus 3 also a positive, which is positive 2. 3 minus 3, 0. 1 minus 2 would give me what? A negative. So we'd have a negative sign here. 5 minus 3 also we have a positive. 5 minus 2, a positive. 5 minus 2, positive. 4 minus 5, we have a negative now in this case. Now you might be asking, why didn't we do males minus female? Stick around in this video, you will get to know why we did not do males minus females. Because we could also still do the same thing, but they will give us the same results at the end of the day. So stick around, you will understand why. Now, having done this, the next step you will do is to find T positive, which is your sign test positive. So test positive would be what? Counting all the positive signs you have. So we have positive sign. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8. T negative. We calculate our T negative. Our T negative will be what? 1, 2, 3. So that's basically 3. So what happens to the zeros? We cancel them out. Cancel all your zeros out. Now having this, the next step would be to take the minimum between T positive and T negative. So we have 8 and 3. Which one has a smaller value? 3. So 3 is our smaller value. Now you will now know the reason why we can also still do, you could also still stay doing males minus female. If you do males minus female, what it means is all your positive signs here would be negative and all your negative signs would be positive. So you would still eventually take the minimum between T positive and T negative and you would eventually end up with 3. So regardless of either doing males minus females or females minus males, you would end up with 3. So having this, you know that your minimum is 3. Then you would come and say x is equal to 3. Now since x is equal to 3, the next step would be finding n, and n is your sample size. Now how many samples did we work with? We worked with 13 samples. So n will be equal to what? 13. If you don't know how to get n, you could also see sum up T positive and T negative. So T positive is 8, T negative, sorry, I see 13, 11 sorry. Good. So that's the best way to get it. So what you do is sum up T positive plus T negative, So T positive is 8, T negative is 3. 8 plus 3 is what? 11. Why it's 11 is because we worked with 13, but we cancelled out the zeros. So cancelling out the zeros, we have omitted 2. So that means we are only working with what? 11. So n is equal to 11. Now having this, you have your x to be equal to 3, your n to be equal to what? 11. The next step would be going to our probability table, our P table. So going to our P table, now, so going to our P table, you will be seeing a table on your screen. Now on your screen, you will see a probability table, and that probability table, the table, you would have to be very sure that you check yours and it is on table. And on this P table, you would see on the vertical axis, you see a big N there, and on that big N, you will look for 13. No, I say 13, 11. So big N is 11 in this case, sorry. So since N is 11, you look for N. And on the horizontal, what I mean by that is vertical, you see N here. On the horizontal here, you see X. That's where your X values are. So your X values are here. You see your N value here. So look for 13 under X, which is 3. So 13 under 3, you'll be seeing, 11. Sorry, keep on saying 13. 11 under 3, you would see 113 there. So 11 under 3, you would see 11 under 3, you see 113 there. So that's basically 0.113. So P is equal to 0.113. This way, let me check something. 0.113. So n 11 x3. So you would see 11 under 3, you'd see 113, and therefore your value or your p-value now in this case is 0.113. That's your p-value. Now, since you've gotten your p-value, our level of significance, which is alpha, is equal to 0.05. Now brings us to the conclusion part of the sign test. When your p-value is lesser than your alpha, you reject null hypothesis. So you reject null hypothesis. But once your p-value is greater than alpha, you fail to reject null hypothesis, or you could say you accept. But this is not really something we use in statistics, which is accepting. We always fail to reject, because why we are failing to reject is it means that based on our test or based on everything we've carried out, we do not have significant proof to reject the null hypothesis. That's why we fail to reject. So we do not exclusively say we accept null hypothesis. We always say we fail to reject null hypothesis. Now, in this case, what you would observe is that p-value, which is 0.113, is what now? In this case, p-value is greater. It is greater than what? Your alpha. And since your p-value is greater than your alpha, we fail to reject null hypothesis. So p-value, which is 0.05, so our conclusion will be we fail to reject null hypothesis, or you could say we accept null hypothesis, in the sense that it's saying that there is no median difference in the activities between female and male rats. Although, looking at this, we can see that yes, that we are failing to reject the null hypothesis, so it means we are accepting the null hypothesis and we are rejecting the alternative hypothesis. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.